In this video, we're going to look at an example about how to calculate pay based on overtime. So for this particular problem, overtime is considered any day that you work more than 8 hours. It's important that you look for that because some places will look at overtime on a daily basis, others will look at it on a weekly basis. So maybe, for example, they'll say if you work more than 40 hours per week, you get overtime, and maybe you work 10 hours one day, you wouldn't necessarily get overtime for those 10 hours, even though you worked more than 8 hours that day. So be a little careful about that given information. So this particular case, we get overtime for any day when you work more than 8 hours, and the overtime rate is time and a half, which means you get your full pay plus another half of what you would have gotten paid for those overtime hours. Again, that varies from company to company. So sometimes they get double time, which means they'd get twice as much their hourly rate. So be on the lookout for that information. We're just going to look at Dominic, and we've got Dominic's number of hours that he worked Monday through Friday, and we have his pay rate. So first, we're supposed to find the total number of regular hours that he worked. So we've got his hours from Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday he worked 8.7 hours. So 8 of those hours were regular and 0.7 of those hours were overtime. Monday and Tuesday he didn't have any overtime. On Thursday, he worked 9.3 hours. That means 8 of those hours were regular time, 1.3 of them were overtime. And again, Friday was 5 and 0, regular and overtime. So that gives us our totals for how we're getting the total number of hours for regular and overtime. And then to figure out his total earnings, we're taking his regular hours times his regular pay rate. And then we're taking his overtime hours times his overtime pay rate. And his overtime pay rate is equal to his regular pay times 1.5, because that's how you'd write time and a half is 1.5, versus that 1.5 would be a 2 if it said double time. And then that's where we're getting this total earnings overall after we add those two regular and overtime payments.